This is Trophy, the Scoundrel's Quarter, Part 12. When we last saw our treasure hunters, they had just finished a fabulous dining experience hosted by Iotho, though Iotho was not there for the food. And then Magda, Cassian, and Malkuth were all invited to a private audience with Iotho. And then they realized that Tekla did not end up in said audience because Tekla got snatched by Iotho's henchmen on the way out of the dinner. And Iotho's made it very clear to the other three that he does not like being betrayed, and he does not like having, in particular, people betray him for his chief rival, which the group has also learned about. So we're going to pick up with that. Tekla, you were grabbed on the way out of the dinner, and you wake up tied to a slab, a table, in some small, poorly lit stone chamber. There is a man wearing very simple, clean gray robes with perfectly white calfskin gloves. He's very young. He looks like he looks like 20. And he says to you with a warm smile on his face, "Hello, Tekla. I know this must be something of a disorienting experience for you, but I assure you that this is the best possible outcome for everyone involved. My name is Tannen. I am a surgeon priest of Barsoul Prison."
Is that where I am?
No, no, goodness no. But Iotho has paid a fabulous sum of money for my services here tonight. We have in Barsoul Prison a special caste of prisoner who are called the Forgiven. As a general matter in Barsoul Prison, there is no such thing as forgiveness. Your time there is permanent and unpleasant. But the Forgiven are those who have managed either to make a case for themselves or the person they originally wronged has decided to offer them grace. And so grace is being offered to you, Tekla. I am led to believe that you betrayed Iotho.
No, never.
Well, in any case, this is where we find ourselves. Now, our process in Barsoul Prison is to make sure that the penance that the Forgiven pays fits the crime, so that the penitent is regularly reminded of what they did to end up in the prison in the first place. In this instance, we are going to devise a penance for you so that you will always be reminded of what you did to Iotho. But once it's over, you will get to walk away from here and continue on with your business and your studies as you wish.
But I didn't do anything to Iotho. I don't understand.
He says, "Well, it is not really my place to hear your arguments or to understand the facts. I am being paid to do a job." He goes over to his little table and he says, "Now, I am told that the person who you discarded Iotho's trust for, this Patience Davies, I gather she is very fond of beetles as a motif, as a way of doing business. There are so many interesting and fascinating people in the world, and I'm led to believe she is one of them. I have a beetle here, A very interesting specimen. I'm not sure Miss Davies has such a specimen in her collection. They are quite rare. He moves this box over and pulls out this sort of like inky black beetle. He pulls it out with these tweezers. He puts it down, closes the box. What we're going to do is we're going to perform a very delicate surgery. This beetle lives inside the tongue, where it derives nourishment from your flesh and bodily fluids, and is incredibly sensitive when said tongues whisper lies. If you speak a lie, the beetle will inject a venom into your body so that you can be reminded of how bad it is to lie. And he's now getting his little instruments together to do his surgery. What are you doing right now, Tekla?
Shrinking in fear from this beetle and racking my brains to figure out if there's some way out of this.
Think hard. Meanwhile,
I think I do have an idea.
Iotho has made it clear that the three of you will soon start to hear Tekla screaming. And indeed, if you can follow Tekla's screams to where she's at and rescue her from whatever has been planned for her, you are all able to leave, and Iotho will have no ill feeling toward any of you anymore.
What if we're too scared of him?
To Iotho?
Yeah.
Just let the surgery finish then, or let whatever's going to happen to Tekla. Iotho says, my villa is quite large, and it's very easy to get lost in. But I'm sure if you follow the painful cries of your companion, you will be able to locate her. I might have taken a little bit of initiative and put a few obstacles in your way. And at this point, the room is bisected by a thick sheet of glass which lowers down between him and you. And his men open up the door you came in through. Tekla, how far does the surgeon priest get to the point of screaming?
Before he begins, I'd like to try something, if I may.
What?
I have a ritual glamour
Mm-hmm.
that allows me to appear more charming and attractive. I think I would like to use that to try and convince him that he doesn't want to do this to me.
I like it. Let's do a risk roll. Group, what could go wrong?
I think the glamour will not necessarily backfire, but it will make her more appealing to the beetle as well and sort of expedite.
The surgeon priest won't want to torture Tekla anymore, but he will take her elsewhere.
I'm thinking that the glamour just does the opposite. It makes you seem like more of a criminal, and the surgeon priest attacks his duties with even more zeal. Do you have a skill that will help you here, Tekla?
Temptation.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'm into that. That's good. Let's talk about Devil's Bargains. Everyone gets to make an offer.
No matter what, beetles everywhere have a sort of affinity for Tekla after this.
That's going to be mine.
I was thinking the beetle would come with you in your tongue or in your cloak.
No matter what, Tannen the Surgeon Priest becomes a recurring villain in the campaign.
Oh, I've got to go with that. I like Tannen, the surgeon priest.
Very good. You have 2 light dice, and I think you have to do dark die. Yeah, you have to do dark die because of the ritual. So go ahead and just get dice on the table first. Let's see how that goes. 5 dark. It's going to work, but I'm going to give you a condition marked by Tannen.
And my rune goes up, right?
And your rune will go up, yes. Go ahead and describe how you avoid this part of it.
I think as Tannen turns away to work with his, to organize his instruments, and the beetle is kind of squirming in whatever container he has it on the table there. Tekla composes herself, and when Tannen turns around, he almost does a double take, because something about her, he can't put his finger on what, but something about her is different. She's alluring to him in a way that she hadn't been before. And I think she just says in a very soft voice, you can't really want to do this to me. And looking deep into his eyes as she says it,
He says, I... But I've been paid to do this service. I'm a professional. I take my work very seriously. I have to do this.
Yotha will be none the wiser. As I say, this betrayal is just a confused misunderstanding of the situation. I can assure you, I will say nothing of this. I will act as though the procedure went ahead. But
All right.
Look at me. You
Yes.
can't do this to me.
All right. All right. But you're supposed to scream. That's how we know it's working. That's how Yotho knows I'm doing my job. You have to do an ear-splitting scream.
I think Tekla gives him a little smile and says, and you would like that too, wouldn't you?
Yes, very much.
And she gives an ear-splitting scream.
Magda, Cassian, Malkuth, you hear Tekla's ear-splitting scream. What do you do?
Sword drawn, charging.
Indeed, Cassian.
Cassian will look back toward the door when Eotha opens it, and then turn back to his meal and say, this hardly seems necessary.
Malkuth.
He's gonna look at Yotho one last time, and I imagine his expression is sort of pleased at this turn of events, this sort of game that he's playing with them. And I think Malkuth recognizes that, and Malkuth sort of just shrugs it off and shakes his head and starts to follow after Magda.
Magda, you're met in this sort of like hall that's outside of that room. It's a hall, it's a grand hall with marble columns that flank the sides. You are met straight away by a number of men armed who come to meet you. They pull out their weapons and they're ready to fight you. They are collectively an endurance 9. So there's like 4 of them in total.
I can take him.
Let's do this. Say how you're vulnerable and roll weak point.
It's 4-on-1, and I am not thinking my way through this battle very well. I'm mostly just charging in head first.
I love it.
And
That
that's 3.
is all right, very good. Malkuth joining the fight.
I'll ask Amanda, do you want to solo this or?
If you want to have Malkuth have a moment of valor, if you feel like that makes sense, then absolutely. Otherwise, it's cool for fighting by myself. I feel
Yeah,
like this depends on what Malkuth wants to do in this
Yeah,
moment.
I feel like it's possible if there are more than one rounds for him to go, not the first round, but maybe like the second.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
All right.
catching up.
Very good. Cassian, are you joining the fight?
After a moment, realizing no one else shares his lack of enthusiasm here, he'll get up and.
Let's do a round with just Magda. Magda, you need a 9. Roll combat 1.
I wonder if I'll get it. Did not. Got a 2.
Got a 2. Very good. Just give us the first little round there.
This is a moment of Magda-ness. She has her sword raised. She was charging down the hallway following this scream with sword pointed forward in case it, needs to poke into anybody. And these 4 guards show up, and I just yell out a battle yell, like a Xena yell, and jump in, sword just swinging. I don't think I hit anyone. I'm just kind of swinging in a figure 8. And I think that kind of takes the soldiers by surprise because it's such a dumb thing to do. They kind of back up like, what's happening? But not in a they're frightened of me way.
I love it. All right, so Malkuth, if you're joining the fight, go ahead and roll your weak point and tell me how you're vulnerable.
My weak point is 4, and I think it's just a numbers game. I think there are 4 of them, and they're armed, and they're obviously well trained to be working with Yotho. So they'll get the better of both of them.
I
Or at least
like it.
Malkuth.
Cassian, you as well.
That's a 5. And I think Cassian is still getting used to dealing with his mannequin hand and isn't quite as effective as he used to be.
Malkuth, you can take this combat roll. It is 4. 6, 3, 2, and 1. The 6 and the 3 are enough to take out these guys, and weak point was hit for Magda. So let's have this. Let's keep it going, Magda.
I'm swinging my arm in a circle 8 or a figure 8 with my sword and not hitting any soldier. And one of the soldiers looks at one of the other soldiers, shrugs, and just sort of jabs his sword very quickly into my side. Not enough to really puncture all the way through my armor, but just enough to really kind of hurt. Maybe a rib bruise or anything, something like that. And I stumble back, and that's, I think, the moment I realize that I might be in over my head. And I think that's when I hear Malkuth and Cassian coming. I'm not marking armor for this. I'm just going to take the hit.
I love it. Cassian, take a couple of these guys out.
Cassian and I assume Malkuth will have a bit of the element of surprise here as everyone's focused on Magda, and Cassian will just walk up and strike the first guard in the back of the head with his staff. And look up at Magda. You good?
Well, I'll be better once we get to Tekla.
Malkuth, what about your part?
I think as the two of them are talking, Malkuth just sort of leaps in, like football tackling one of them, driving him into his partner. I imagine the blade probably pierces them, so it's sort of like a shish kebab moment. When the two of them are dealt with, there's probably a third one, I think, where he just sort of lifts up, like headbutts him, and force of it is enough to knock him out. And when the two of them are finished talking, he just sort of looks at them. There's probably some blood trailing from his forehead, and we good?
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know you could do that.
Adrenaline.
Huh.
Meanwhile, Tannen says, "Yes, scream, scream. The scream is the sound of the sin leaving your body. You will be forgiven soon. Scream once more." You're muted, Rob.
Tekla kind of arches her back against the slab that she's tied to and just lifts her head up and gives out a full-throated scream.
You all hear the next scream. Do you follow it?
There's a large shrug, but yes, follow it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do eventually follow it to what you kind of, you go through a couple of passages. You actually end up down in a sort of, you go down, it's coming from below into a subterranean portion of the villa. And there is a long, very narrow, single file hall. Like you will have to go single file. And Iotho has crossbowmen stationed in little niches at the top, and you are meant to run this gauntlet of crossbowmen to get to the door on the other side. You can hear Tekla screaming even louder. What are you all going to do to navigate this?
I think this might be a really nice moment to bring back Great Bazo of the Golden Mane, who can walk on air.
Indeed, indeed. I love it. That's one of your rituals, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Steed.
Ben, what could go wrong here?
Basso is too large for this hallway and ends up blocking our progress, making us more of a target.
Do you have a skill that will help you out here, Magda?
Surprise.
Oh, okay, that's good. Like, yeah, bringing him there surprises the bowman. Yeah, that's good. I love it. And Jack, you can do the devil's bargain.
No matter what, no matter what, Bazo is going to want a favor from you, getting you through this.
Lucky for him, I can make apples now. But I'll absolutely take that. Yeah.
I love it. You have 2 light dice and 1 dark die for the ritual. Let's roll and see how it goes.
All right, got a 5.
5 light. I think that is great. I think the complication is going to be that the Great Bazo is only going to help 2 of you get through. One of you, of your choice, has to figure out some other way. Unless you want to add a dark die and try again.
I'm fine trying to solo this if
I think Magda feeling guilty, because I still have that condition, would wave Cassian and Malkuth through.
Nice. Describe the ritual and then what happens when Great Basso arrives.
As the ritual, which is just sort of singing under her breath, a song of in this case it's actually repeating the song of Magda and Great Bazo of the Golden Mane. It sort of looks like golden smoke rising out from the floors and the cracks in the walls and fogging up the room, and out of the smoke jumps this surreal looking golden horse with flowing golden hair, and I don't know, looks like there's wind blowing on it like a model horse. Supermodel horse.
I love it. Cassian and Malkuth, you will escape using the Great Bazo. What does that look like?
I've never ridden a horse before.
Just grab on.
Okay. And I think Malkuth will sort of leap on, but not the way, like, not the way that someone who's experienced in this does. He just sort of goes over, dives onto it, and I think he's just on the, like, on his belly on the back of this horse, trying to, like, get back up.
Cassian will just shake his head slightly and get on the horse normal and turn to Magda and hold out his hand.
I think as I step forward to do that, the arrows start to fly, and Bazo, noticing that this is happening, just sort of takes off, stomping and galloping through the air.
Tekla, Tannen says, I hear a commotion. It sounds like someone is coming to get you. But they're going to have to get through the guardian posted at the door. And he will take you to the door, Tekla, and through the iron bars, you'll see that there's a sort of circular stone chamber just before the chamber you're in. And you can even hear the commotion from deeper down in the dungeon. And Eothos put a big ass dude to guard this door. This guy is like 7 feet tall and like 4 feet wide at the shoulder, just massive. And he drags like a large like chain that has a big spiked mallet at the end of it. And he's got like a metal cage mask, and he's just there guarding the door. What do you do, Tekla?
Turns toward Tannen and says, surely there's some way we can clear the path for them.
What did you have in mind?
And she'll call out to the big El Gigante and say, hello? Are you waiting for me?
I think this individual turns, and you just see like kind of blazing red eyes underneath this like cage-like helmet, and he just grunts and goes back to being on guard. He's not much of a conversationalist, it would seem.
No. But you were so helpful in letting me go. Perhaps you could help me once again. I'm rather scared of this fellow, if I'm being honest.
He says, well, I do have some herbs that can be used for anesthetic purposes. As you might imagine, they don't get used very often in my line of work, and so I'm not sure if they are fresh enough, but we could give it a try.
Oh, you are so clever. That's perfect.
And he will help you put together this, you'll mash it up or whatever, kind of mix it with some liquid to make it kind of like a poison. And
How
he
do we
says,
apply it? We stab him with a needle or a scalpel?
yes, that should work. What we typically do is we flay the top few layers of the epidermis so that the pain is maximal in its nature, and then we put the unguent underneath the skin to temporarily relieve it. And we do this over and over again, back and forth, back and forth. It's meant to be a manner of penitence, like people who flog themselves, that sort of thing. It's a whole thing. But injection should
Very
be just fine.
creative.
Yes.
Very creative. Well, very well then. Are you going to do the injecting or shall I?
Oh, I think you should probably do it. I am not that sort of. I don't have that sort of heroic talent.
And yet you're so much bigger and stronger than I am.
What do you propose I do? That I go out there and jab that man, or whatever it is, with a needle?
Yes, he won't be expecting it. I'm sure you'll be quite safe.
All right. And meanwhile, Magda, the Great Bazo, is taking Cassian and Malkuth across this narrow little passage, but there are arrows flying, you hear the thrum of, the crossbow bolts flying and them being, the click click of them being reloaded. Like, these crossbow people are going after it. What do you do?
How high up are these crossbowmen? Because I know they're on either side of this gauntlet, right?
They are probably about, I don't know, maybe like 15 feet up.
Because I have a grappling hook.
What would you do?
I think I would probably try and pull myself up to one side and steal a crossbow.
Oh, I see.
Kill someone, steal their crossbow.
Got it. Yeah, that feels like a very
Stupid thing.
intense thing to do. Yeah. Because I do fear if you were to try to scale up, you would be kind of a sitting duck for them, right? They would be able to just unleash fire on you as you're climbing. Unless Cassian and Malkuth pick up on what you're trying to do and cause some kind of distraction or something. Otherwise, it's just a matter of running across the gauntlet of crossbow bolts.
And I have athletics, so I could, make a run for it.
Might work.
It's more dramatic to use the grappling hook.
So
I'm going to do that.
So Cassian and Malkuth, when you realize that Magda's going to try to scale up the wall and take them on, what do?
What can we do? We don't have a grappling hook. I think Malkuth seeing this would, and once Bazo, I don't know, disappears or whatever happens when he finishes his job, I think Malkuth would probably go back into the hallway just a little bit to try and distract some of the fire, so that Magda could try and get some element of surprise.
I like that. Let's do a risk roll for you then, Malkuth, to see if this goes off correctly. Rob, what could go wrong here? You're on mute.
As simple as Malkuth just falling. And
falling
injuring himself from the wall.
No, I'm not in the wall. I'm in the hallway.
Oh,
yeah.
I think, well, Eotho, we've seen that Eotho has various traps and things set up. And does Malkuth get isolated in this hallway?
Very good. Do you have a skill here that will be helpful, Malkuth?
Yeah, I think commands. I think he's,
I'll take that.
He's egging them on.
Yeah. And you can make the devil's bargain.
I really like the idea of Eotho leaving traps for us. One way or another, you are going to be separated from us.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay. That is 2 light and 1 dark. I think this is fundamentally dangerous. Go ahead and roll.
That's 5 light.
5 light. Very good. It's going to work. I think the complication here is going to be that, related to the Devil's Bargain, a trapdoor opens up underneath you, sending you sliding down to another part of the dungeon. The danger or the complication is, I think you're going to land hard on your leg and have like a bruised thigh as you land. But otherwise, you'll be able to provide enough distraction for Magda to get up the wall. And as we all know from video games, crossbowmen and bow people are very easy to kill. So go ahead and just describe how you create this distraction, Malkuth.
Yeah, I think he runs just a few feet into the middle of the hallway and starts looking up at, especially at the side that Magna is running up to, and he says, "Hey, want to point those arrows at me? I'm soft, I'm squishy. Come on." And I think as he's talking, they all start to reload, and they start to point down towards him. A few of them shoot, not hitting him, but into the floor or breaking against the wall. It's like, "Come on, is that the best you could do? Come on!" And as he's doing this, Magna's able to scale up. But I think there's one bowman who just kind of chuckles to himself, and there's a lever behind him, and he just pulls it, and the door opens up beneath him, and Malkuth just drops.
Magda, you do manage to scale up the wall. Go ahead and describe how you power through some crossbowmen to get to the other side.
I think as I'm climbing up the grappling hook and Malkuth is providing this amazing distraction, I get close to the top and I haven't been spotted by the people along the wall that I'm climbing up to yet. So I reach out my hand and I grab the boot of the closest crossbowman to me and I pull really hard. I pull his leg out from under him so he falls back down onto his ass. You can hear sort of a clanking of armor and leather. And as he flails, I reach out and just take his crossbow from him, sling it over my shoulder, pull him back or pull him even further so he falls off the wall, finish climbing up, and then just start. I'm not a great crossbow person, it's not my thing, but this is pretty close quarters. I think I just sort of pew 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 them all the rest of them that are up
You're
here.
just grabbing each guy's crossbow and firing it to
Yeah.
kill the other ones.
I don't know how to
That's good.
reload them. So, yeah.
Fortunately, they're all loaded. You just grab them,
Yeah,
pop them
amazing.
off. Cassian, what are you doing in the meantime? You see all this going on. Magda's got it under control. Malkuth just dropped down a trapdoor. What are you doing?
Am I in range of the very large man?
No, you haven't seen that yet.
Is the trapdoor still open?
It is.
Going to try and find some place to tie my rope off and hopefully drop down to see if Malkuth is still alive.
It's a fairly gentle decline. It only, like, Malkuth landed hard because he wasn't ready for it. But if you just like scoot down on your butt, you should be fine.
I think I'll still take that rope just in case.
Fair enough. So you're going down the trapdoor.
Yes.
Magda, you get to the other side. I think there's a little stairway that drops down to the level where they're at, and you don't see them. They're gone. You're just there. And Great Bazo disappeared ages ago, so it's just you.
Is the trap door still open?
It is still open. Yeah.
I should probably follow them. And I think I'm saying this out loud too. I should probably follow them. But Tekla's in danger and they're together. So I should
Tekla-
probably go to Tekla.
I think that Tannen is like, as he's going out, he's like, give us one more scream.
Okay, I'll go get Tekla. And I think as this is happening, the other people on the other side of the wall, they're still shooting arrows and stuff. I'm just like a little bit out of their reach behind the wall. I'm like, okay, I'll go get Tekla, and then Tekla and I will go down and we'll rescue Cassian and Malkuth. It's perfect.
It's
Okay.
perfect.
This is really going to be an epic story in my pilgrimage. All right, Magda, you've got this. And I take out my sword and as fast as I can, whip around past the trap door and into the next room.
You go down a short hallway and you end up in this round chamber that actually, the ceiling of which is high enough to reach up to the surface because there's like kind of gray late afternoon light pouring in from up above. And you see this big dude with this spiked club on a chain, and he is there kind of in the center of the room. You see this much smaller, younger man in a very delicate looking man in a gray robe, who is sneaking up behind this guy, and he has something in his hand. You can't quite make out what it is, but he's clearly trying to like get close to the big man without getting his attention. What do you do?
I don't know if I can read subtlety that well. Huh. What else is in this room? It's just a round room. It's empty.
Yeah, and well, there's the door that
Yeah.
where Tekla is. Yeah.
I'm gonna take out my whistle
And do what?
and just blow on it a whole bunch. Because if this guy is trying to get the big guy, then
Yeah.
maybe it'll be a distraction. And if this guy is a bad guy to me, maybe it'll surprise him too.
I like it. This is a risk
Somehow I
roll.
might get a jump on both of them.
This is a risk roll. I think what happens is that if you fail, if it goes poorly, I think that it turns out the big man is like deaf. And so he can't hear any of the distractions. He can't hear the other guy either. And you get a die for your whistle. Jack, you can make a devil's bargain if you want.
I'm going to say no matter what, you recognize something about this man that feels very familiar to you, almost as if you had some sort of connection with him in the past.
The tall man or the other man?
Oh, it's the Tannen.
Do you want that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like it. Okay, it's good. Let's say I'm not going to give you a dark die yet. You can get by with 2 light for now.
5 light.
5 light. I think the complication here is Tannen is someone who you had a romantic thing with, and he will remember that, and it will break the glamour with Tekla.
Wait, is he my fiance?
No, he's not
Or
that
is
guy.
he okay.
No.
Because I never figured out who that guy is yet.
Yeah, this is just some other guy from the
Some
past.
other guy. Okay.
No. Are you okay with that, or do you want to add a dark
Yeah,
die?
I love it. That's great.
All right. I think it all goes to plan. You're blowing your whistle like crazy. That's driving the Guardian like nuts. Tannen walks up and just jabs him with a like kind of needle, and the big guy seizes up and slams down, head down, or face down. And then he shakes his head, Tannen does, and he says, Magda?
Oh, Tannen.
Magda.
Nice to see you again.
What are you doing here?
A rescue?
A,
Have you
a,
seen a girl?
a rescue? No.
Screaming?
He turns and he sees Tekla there. Tekla, you're still actually tied to the table. And he turns and he says, yeah, no, you can't rescue her. She has not performed her penance yet. To be
What
forgiven,
penance?
she must perform her penance.
No. We agreed that wasn't necessary.
And he gets an angry look in his face and he says, Silence, witch. I will not be subject to your trickery or ensorcelments any longer. Magic is the bane of this world. There is
Okay.
only truth in science and pain.
Tannen, I know you and I left off on a less than positive note back in Drannon's Reef fighting that sea witch, and I sort of let her take you. But I'm a different person now, and I don't let people do that anymore. So I have to rescue her. Do you understand? It's for my...
Do you understand what it's like to have your most humiliating moment immortalized in song that you have to
Yes,
hear everywhere you go?
I do. I do.
He says, we shall discuss this at a later time, Magda. And he goes into the little cell with Tekla and slams the door.
I hate dating.
Meanwhile, Cassian, Malkuth, you arrive first. You tumble down and land kind of hard on your leg in this very interesting subterranean space. It is apparently under the city. It's like it's a cave. You see rock formations, kind of hanging down. But it's an enormous wide open space with the ceiling of which stretches up to like 30 or 40 feet. And you can't even see the edges of it. It's so wide. Your only source of light is this sort of glowing fungus or lichen down on the ground. And it glows with this sort of aquamarine glow. And so you're just in this vast underground cavern glowing this bluish green glow. And shortly after you, Cassian comes scooching down and landing down there with you. Let's just pick up from there.
I think there's something very comforting about this place to Malkuth, since he spent most of his life in the mines. And so I think when Kazian does finally come down, he probably just sees Malkuth almost limping closer to the edges of this cavern, sort of marveling at the beautiful fungus and just the I imagine you said there were like stalagmites or something like that.
There are mites and tights, yeah.
Tights, yeah. Okay. He's just sort of like marveling at them, sort of touching them when he gets down there.
Cassian will land and he'll start to say something and then realize just how large this space is and kind of look around in almost awe before turning back to Malkuth and say, are you okay?
Yeah, I hurt my bottom, but I think I'm all right. Did Magda get across?
Probably, yes. Seems like something Magda would do.
Well, that's good. And when he says that, he's sort of half paying attention to Cassie, and I think he's still sort of transfixed by the bioluminescence. I think too, some of his tattoos also sort of have that bioluminescent glow. Probably some of the miners that used to tattoo him probably used some of this fungus in their ink, and so he's got some glowing patterns on his body as well.
Cassian, you will notice that there is a face with perfectly clear flesh and no bones, but two eyes that glow with fiery purple light. This clear, transparent face is hovering over the both of you. As this entity gets closer, you realize that the face is attached to a body that looks something vaguely like an enormous transparent shrimp, but with a long, equally clear, scorpion-like tail. And it floats down The thing is enormous. The face is like the size of one of you. And its clear, almost gelid body is filled with lights, purple, orange. And this thing kind of floats down and lands and lets out enormous, thin, membrane-like wings on the side. And it just begins weaving back and forth and rearing back and clearly drawing forth energy from these glowing nodules in its body. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Cassian, Malkuth, this creature is rearing up to attack. Please say how you're vulnerable and roll weak point.
This thing is very big, and I'm relatively small, so that's how I'm weak.
Indeed. Roll a weak point.
3.
And I have a 5.
Mm-hmm. Same vulnerability.
I think so, yeah.
General size differential. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. It's an endurance 12. You have combat 2. Please go ahead and roll. You need boxcars.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
If we wanted to use ritual as part of our combat, is it something we roll separately, or is that?
You may, if you wish to bail for a round and let your companion deal with it for a round, you can do a ritual to lower its endurance.
Okay,
Do you want to do that?
I think so. Yeah, if Cassian's okay with that.
Yeah.
Cassian, you have to
I-
tangle with it for a round then.
I was wondering if I could try something a little unorthodox, perhaps. Cassian is wearing mirrored armor, and this seems to be based on bioluminescence or light.
It has that seeming quality, yes.
I'm going to try and reflect whatever it shoots back at it.
Oh, interesting. I like that. I'll let you have. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I'll let you take an extra light die for your combat roll.
That's combat 2.
Yeah, combat 2.
Yep, 2. Close.
It was
10.
close. Yeah, it was a 10. Not quite enough. But Malkuth, what are you going to do to try to lower the thing's endurance?
So this is like bringing a knife to a gunfight. So I think he's going to try and bring a gun, and by which I mean he's going to use his Leviathan ritual to conjure something that is equal in size that can deal with this.
Oh, I like that very much. That's great. I'm going to give. Well, first of all, before you do the roll, do you have a skill commanding? I guess ritual. You have
Yeah.
rituals.
Rituals, yeah.
Great. So that'll give you 1 light die. I think what could go wrong here is, I think the Leviathan, I think it fuses with this creature and becomes even more of a problem. Just goes really badly. Your devil's bargain is to put the Scoundrel's Quarter in danger.
I'll take it.
All right. Go ahead and roll that first so we don't forget. Roll Ruin.
Ruin or risk?
Yeah, it's ruined for the Scoundrel's Quarter.
Got it. That's a 2.
Okay. The Scoundrel's Quarter, I think, has a 1 presently, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So it goes up to 2. And now go ahead and roll risk 2-1. 2 light, 1 dark.
That's a 4 on the dark.
Okay. That is enough to lower its endurance to 11. Please go ahead and describe your ritual. And I think your own ruin goes up as well.
Oh yeah, you're right. So as Cassian is sort of maneuvering himself into place, I think Malkuth stands back and he's taken aback by the size of this thing, the immensity of it. And he remembers the ritual that his chain taught him. And so he takes out his hammer and begins to pound it on the ground. and he starts to recite something. And if this were a show, we'd see a montage of a different miner somewhere else in the world. His eyes roll back in his head. He starts to sing the same chant, kind of slapping his thigh. Another one does it. We cut to another one, and then another one. If Jeff were here or alive, he'd be doing the same thing. And as all of them start to recite this thing in unison, we just feel this rumbling as this massive mole creature starts to burst out from the earth with a 9-pointed snout and charges at the thing.
Nice. We'll pick up with that in a bit. Tannen, the surgeon priest of Barsoul Prison, slams the door between you and Magda, Tekla, and he turns to face you, Tekla, and he says, trickery. Magic and trickery. You would use your wickedness to cause me to not do a job I was paid to do. Nothing offends me more, Tekla, than being put in a compromising situation. My professionalism demands that I punish you for this.
No, you don't understand.
I understand perfectly well that my contract with the Otho has certain clauses and liberties built into it. And I believe that your behavior here triggers the clause that allows me to take a piece of you. And he approaches with his scalpel. Magda, what are you doing right now?
Banging on the door, trying to knock it down.
We'll just do a risk roll to see if you can bust in and save Tekla. Jack, what could go wrong?
The massive giant will wake up, and she will have to fight it.
You have athletics, so you have your first light die, and I'll offer you a devil's bargain of no matter what, Tekla escapes. Or not Tekla, Tannen escapes.
I'll take that, yeah.
You have 2 light dice. Go ahead and roll risk 2 light.
3.
3. That is not good. You can add dark die, because if you don't, the guardian is going to get up.
Yeah, I'm gonna add a dark die.
All right. Roll 2 light, 1 dark.
5 light.
Okay, that's pretty good. Go ahead and describe how you save Tekla.
I think I'm just sort of muttering to myself as I angrily just shoulder the door, body check it over and over, and it sort of starts to splinter and shift and move. Finally, I'm able to knock it down. I go stumbling in. And I think it's just a matter of stumbling in that surprises Tannen. And I happen to stumble right into him, knocking him over.
Nice. Let's just have the scene with you and Tekla.
Tekla, I'm here to save you.
Oh, Magda, it's a relief to see you.
Let's get these bindings off of you. And I start sort of untying while trying to kick Tannen at the same time because I don't really know where to put my
I think Tannen
attention.
scrambles out of the room and is gone. And you're able to free Tekla. Once you free Tekla, then what?
That man was really quite horrible. He was planning to do something with that, and she points over at the beetle.
The beetle in the box. You can take that box.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably make sure he can't do that to anyone again. You know, he used to be different. Well, not that different, but he used to not work for frightening men.
Well, now is perhaps not the time for me to draw that story forth from you, but I would be interested to hear it some time.
Are you
Now,
gonna grab the
where
beetle,
are
Tekla?
we? I think Tekla will let. Yeah, I think I will actually. Yes. Yes.
I think it makes more sense for you to do it than Magda to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's Magda's style.
We are in some sort of dungeon. And now we have to go find our friends who are in an even deeper part of the dungeon.
Indeed,
Follow
let's
me.
pick up with said friends. Now there's this giant mole creature battling this strange entity. It is that reduces it to endurance 11, which is much more manageable than 12. And you are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 combat for this round. Go ahead, Malkuth.
That's all in 11. Is my math right? Yeah.
It's a 5 and 4, which is a 9, which is not enough.
Oh, dang.
Who's getting hit though? Anybody? Weak point.
Oh, me.
What's your weak point, Malkuth?
I don't know if did I roll one? I'll roll one now.
Oh, you might not have rolled one. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I don't remember.
Weak points 2.
Okay. So you're fine. Sounds like you're getting a hit though, Cassian, and this is not enough to destroy it. But just give us the first part of the scene here, Malkuth. What's happening?
Malkuth stops beating his hammer on the ground. He stops the incantation once the creature is out. And I think using some of that opportunity as this mole thing starts to grapple with this creature, he's going to try and run up and fixing his hammer to the chain that he has. So throw it at this creature, trying to find a spot in its face to hit it. It hits, but I don't think it notices. It's relatively minor. It's a minor inconvenience compared to the giant mole thing it's dealing with.
Cassian, you get the next part.
And I think as the creature is fighting the giant mole thing, it's charging up to release another blast. And the mole thing's swipe at its face turns it towards us once again. And Cassian just jumps in front of Malkuth with his back turned to it. And the blast hits him in the mirrored armor, kind of scattering it, but it's still enough to leave the armor a little dented and charred.
Indeed, indeed. Magda and Tekla, you don't have to go far to get where your companions are. If you just dive down the shaft, you get to join the combat this round. If you take your time, they have to go one more round without you.
I dive down, of course I do.
Tekla, do you dive or not? You're muted, Rob.
I don't think I have any choice. I don't want to be left alone again.
If you dive down, you just take a bruised condition as you land kind of hard, but you land right in the middle of the fight, so that's helpful. That puts it up to a combat 7 at this point. Magda, you just see the thing. There's a lot going on in this scene as you land. Just dive into the fray, Magda, and roll a combat 7. Oh, you need weak points first, though.
Can Tekla actually take part here? Because I don't imagine she has a weapon of any kind.
Oh, you might not. I don't know. Yeah. I'll leave that up to you, whether you think you can fashion something.
I think it might make sense if I look around for something, but maybe sit out at least one round.
All right, I'll take that. So, Magda, what's your weak point?
My weak point is 4.
How are you vulnerable?
I am rushing into this situation without taking any stock.
Any stock of what's going on, yeah. Fair enough. You would start attacking the mole thing. So that's going to be a combat 7. Let's see how it, or no, 6 without Tekla. Yeah.
Well, I rolled 12.
Yeah, there's 2 1s, 2 5s, and 2 6s. That 2 5s is not great, Cassian. I assume you're going to mark armor on that.
I will, yep.
Let's have the combat. Magda, dive into the fray.
I come sliding down on my butt because there's no grace here when it comes to rescues. My sword is drawn and pointed out in front of me. I come running off my feet as I hit the ground, and I think the bruising happens more in the form of hitting the ground really hard on my feet. It's gonna hurt my knees later. But I go charging towards the first big monster I see, which luckily is not the mole creature. And I do like a running jump. I might, even if there's anything down there, I might be kicking my feet off of and doing sort of like a with the upper hand on the sword to drive it down into the center of the being as I scream very loudly.
Cassian, keep it going.
I think this is Cassian isn't really equipped to handle a creature like this. He doesn't have anything pointy, but what he can do is try and get in the way. And as this creature, I think it brings its scorpion tail along to try and knock Magda aside. Cassian is going to dive on and try and grab it and end up getting flung into a stalactite somewhere. His amulet of protection will spark and sizzle.
Indeed, indeed. Malkuth, you get the killing blow on this thing.
Realizing that his hammer is like a speck of dust on this thing, I think he realizes he needs some help, and so he's going to leap onto the back of the mole creature, scaling it, and sort of piloting it by pulling at its tufts of matted fur. He's just sort of like helping to command this mole thing into slashing at it, tearing into its face, tearing into its body, ripping out some of those light organs and pulling them aside, tossing them to the ground where they start to kind of dull and flicker. And then finally, it's just this sort of mess of translucent flesh all over the ground, and the mole creature is just sort of feasting on it.
I love it. Now, here's how this is going to go for the treasure roll. The only thing you can retrieve from this creature are these glowing organs, these sort of strange, spherical, multicolored glowing organs. They're very valuable. They're worth 3 gold apiece. On your treasure roll, for each 6 that you get 1 of these organs. That's how many are attainable. Who wants to roll treasure 12? Or it's 11, actually, because you lowered it. Or not
I'm so
treasure,
nervous.
gold. A gold roll.
I'll do it. Fine. Fuck it.
Gold 11. How many are you going to get? 3, not bad. That's a pretty good number. Yeah. You will be able to retrieve 3 of these glowing organs. They are worth 3 gold a pop. Who's taking one?
I'm absolutely taking one. So
I think Tekla is will allow those who took part in combat to take them.
I'll take one.
She's just grateful to not have her tongue be replaced by a beetle.
Indeed. I love it. So let's just have this moment as you're collecting these strange glowing, they're almost like crystals. And they're quite big. They're like this, even like dimmed, they're like the size of your fist. Let's just have that scene with all of you in that subterranean sort of cave space.
Oh, I'm so glad I was able to rescue you all.
yeah, thanks for coming. And Malkuth is just sort of petting the mole and sort of slaps it on the snout, and it wiggles, shaking off some of the viscera that splashed onto it. And all right, you get some rest, okay? And he just kind of pats it again, and the thing starts to retreat back into the hole it came from. Yeah, good that you got here when you did, Magda.
Yeah, otherwise you'd all be dead. If it wasn't for me, if I didn't save the day.
How did you 2 come to be down here?
I imagine it was the bowman who pulled a conspicuous-looking lever when I was in the hallway, and well, and then Cassian, thank you for coming after me. I don't know what I would have done without you either.
and you are on your way to rescue me. Thank you so much.
I think Magda really, we were just kind of following her lead.
I would never let a teammate go off on their own. Ever. Now. As opposed to before. But I'm different now.
Well, I don't suppose that different you considered leaving a way to get back up the trap.
Can I get my grappling hook up there?
Yeah, you could probably. Yeah, you could probably. If you just, as long as I have like grappling hook and rope, I will let you get up. I will let you all get back up to the incline again.
Okay. Well, we could try this.
Who's the keeper of the bestiary these days?
Isn't it Malkuth now?
I guess. I don't know. Am I? I mean, I will.
No, I remember we had that discussion. I think.
Yeah, I think it was Malkuth.
Okay, I'll take it.
You all need to come up with a name for this entity you just destroyed, and record it. Not right now necessarily, but at some point you must do that. Well, are you? I mean, you are in this interesting space. Are you going to do anything down here while you're down here, or are you going to just head back up?
I'll take a look around before we go back up.
Yeah. How so?
Anything. Well, I didn't get a good look at the room at all. When I came down, I literally just charged into the monster. So I think I'm just going to take stock of what's in here.
Yeah, just giving a. You can see a fair amount of it as you walk around with the sort of glowing lichen and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do a hunt roll.
I rolled a 1.
You got a 1. Did you have? I don't think you had any tokens to start
No.
with, so you don't lose anything. But okay, so you're roaming around. Well, you'll encounter something terrible in a bit. Cassian, what are you doing?
First, I think he would hand Malkuth his healing potion. He won't say anything. He'll just put it in Malkuth's hand and walk over to the beast. And I think I'd like to use my beast's skill to maybe try and extract some venom from that tail.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. You might be able to extract something from it. I'm not going to say what it does, but you can extract some kind of fluid from it. Yeah. And just note it. Once you have a name for this thing, you can note it appropriately. Tekla, what are you doing right now?
If Tekla's primary concern is getting out of here, so yeah, looking around for. I think maybe Tekla's experience with kind of the tombs of old Kaldor and things like that might lead her to think, if you can, the trick is if you can feel a draft, that's your way out. So I think she's trying to feel if there's any air movement.
Go ahead and roll a hunt roll.
There's artifacts or myths. I think those are kind of weak. I'm doing this with 1 die, aren't I?
Seems like it.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. 5.
Take your token. There is a distinct lack of wind and air. It is very still. Indeed, Magda, as you're walking around, you reach what appears to be the outer edge of this space, and you know that because it drops off into a black, inky void. And then you realize that this cave space is really something like two plates sandwiched atop one another, hovering out in the middle of nothing.
I reach into my bag and pull out the last of the apples that I conjured the last time I conjured apples, and I just sort of toss it out to see how far I can watch it
It
fall.
disappears and makes no noise.
Oh, well, we should turn around and get out of here. It seems like there's nothing down here, quite literally.
Do you suppose Iotho built his palace on this place on purpose?
It's an oubliette.
Well, it's a really deep one.
Well, yes, that's how one tends to build oubliettes. The idea is that once you're in, there's no way out without assistance.
Well, thankfully we have the grappling hook, right?
Do you
Yeah.
wish to grapple up to the chute and climb up?
Yes, please.
After some time, you get the grappling hook and rope situation sorted out. You manage to grab hold of something and wedge it in there good. You get up to the incline. You climb up the incline to discover that this drop is a one-way drop. When you get up to the lip of what should be the trap door, you are just standing atop this massive structure. And you are looking out into a black starry void for as far as the eye can see.
Malkuth pulls out the egg from his papoose and sort of just holds it in front of him, and he says, "I don't think I'm going to be able to cash that banknote here."
Doesn't seem like it. What
Where
do
are
you all
we?
do?
Cassian, is this the place that you went to?
Oh, I don't believe so, no.
This is not where I'm still confused. I woke up tied to a slab, and where is this building we were in?
Why would Iotho build his house on something like this? It's got to be terrible for the foundation.
Something tells me he knows that already. Can I do like a hunt roll to see if I can get like a sense of
Yeah, go for
where
it.
we might
Yeah.
be?
How are you doing so?
Just with my senses, honestly. I think he's just sort of reaching out, smelling, looking,
Okay.
tasting.
Yeah. That is a 1. You encounter something terrible and lose all of your tokens. Let's talk about the terrible thing you encounter. I think you're atop this sort of, it would be like the ceiling of the cave, but it's like atop it, and it's kind of smoothish, pebbly stone ground, and it's about the width of a football field, and you're just sort of roaming around looking in all directions at this strange extra dimensional space you're in. This is a fiendish trap Iotho has put into his home, some sort of dimensional portal. And you see in the distance something. It looks like a pinprick of light at first in the darkness, but it's getting closer, whatever it is, ever closer. What do you
A
do?
pinprick of light?
Or something. That's what it looks like in the distance. Who knows what it is? Actually, but
Do you
Do you-
remember Do you remember the silver blood? Do you remember the silver blood we saw? The omen of the sacrifice to the deep. What if it wasn't the deep? What if it was the dark? That means not all great adventurers survive the adventure.
This cannot be the first time you've realized that, Magda.
Well,
Yes, surely the stories are full of adventurers who never returned from the Caldur or
the
various
Caldor.
other places.
That's it. That's it. I have an idea. I am going to reach into my pack and take out the fell tree fruit that I have.
What does that do again?
Doesn't it put you in touch with like the Caldur?
I don't remember what it does.
The energy of
I
the
can look.
Caldur
I
or
can look it
something?
up though. Hold on. Let's see. Fell tree.
Been a while since we've thought about the fell tree fruit, so
Yeah.
I've been saving it.
Fell tree. Oh, it's fruit. Let's just type in fruit. See if that works. Okay.
It's page 13 of Loom.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't pull it up with a search.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, I was spelling it wrong. That's why. The saline fruit of the fell tree rots on the lips, but can impart a strange second sense, the pull of the Caldur. Oh, that's very good, actually. I like it as a way of like finding your way out of here.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Caldur is
indeed.
everywhere.
Yeah. Very intriguing. Very intriguing. Do you want to consume the fruit?
Yes, I do. I think
I'm
I
not
just
gonna
sit
make-
down and eat it.
Oh, it's disgusting too. It's like salt fruit. It's so gross. But
Use some butter.
yeah, you can consume it and you will know the way. It's far away, but it is the way. You have to go back down into the cave and you will be drawn to the exit of this place. Meanwhile, though, whatever is coming, it's very, very big. It is indeed the mother of the creature checking on one of her brood. It is enormous, titanic in size. You cannot defeat it if you were to engage it in combat. I recommend you all follow Magda with haste.
I go charging, sword drawn.
No.
This way!
Back down the chute, I assume. Back down the chute.
Yeah, following Magda.
Yep, for sure.
Away from danger.
Magda, it's not much, but you're drawn to it. A silvery pool between a pair of fungus-covered stalactites or mites, whatever they are, on the ground. This silvery pool, if you put your hand and arm in it, it passes right through. It's some sort of passage. Do you go in?
Yeah, I trust this fruit implicitly.
Indeed. Magna just slides right in like a fish sliding back into water. What do the three of you do?
We trust the fruit.
Yeah.
Malkuth dives in after.
I think Tekla is any way out of here is better than facing whatever this thing is.
Yeah, Cassian will follow.
And now we fast forward a bit. The silvery pool deposited you at the base of a snowy mountain. You don't know where you're at. You might be in the frozen north of your own world. You might be in the frozen north of some other world. You are at the base of this mountain, trying to stay warm, eating what meager food you brought with you, or whatever you managed to swipe from Yotha's table, and surviving like that for a number of days, you eventually come upon a shack, more of a lean-to, built in haste. But there's a message scrawled on the wall of the lean-to. We have climbed the mountain. We seek the graveyard of bone. We believe this is where we will find Ardkin and our way out of this place. I will type Ardkin for you. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and see how you're going to progress from here. We have some scholars among us, do we not? Tekla, you know of myths and things. I will tell you that Ardkin is the legendary bone ship that is known to travel the Gossamer Void. The Gossamer Void is the liminal space between worlds and dimensions. Whoever built this lean-to seems to think that the bone ship Ardkin can be found at the top of the mountain. I will tell you that you've had enough days here in this place to know that there's not much else in this land but this mountain. It is a pretty empty place. What are you all going to do? Let's just have the scene in the lean-to as you're figuring out your next steps.
Well, it seems to me we really have no choice but to find this ship and use it to escape from here.
Doesn't that mean we'd have to go into the void, or do you think I don't know anything about the void?
Nor do I.
In the ship, you mean?
Well, like, is the
I
ship
suppose so.
here, or does it have to go through or is it in the void? We have to get to the void.
Well, whoever was here before us seems to think it was at the top of this mountain.
It's the only lead we have. And perhaps the ship is warmer.
I imagine anything has to be warmer right now.
Very well. Trekking up the mountain, you're able to find a path up. And it's pretty slow going. It's very cold. I am curious, you all did not come prepared for the cold, and so I'm curious what you are doing to not just stay comfortable, but to survive this. Like, what are you doing to keep your body temperatures high enough to not die right now?
Good question. Since it's been a few days, right?
It has been. You have managed to do something. Like, you've managed to do something to keep alive.
I think that aside from burning apples, Magda's apples, I think that at some point, unless you say otherwise, that we did find maybe like a stag here or there.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we managed, we managed to at least kill one or two of them, enough to have some meat, and then try to make some sort of like pelts out of them. It's not been pleasant, obviously, and the blood is frozen over, and it's made it even more uncomfortable to wear. But I think that's partially how Malkuth is at least trying to stay warm, wearing these pelts.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even like rubbing the fat of the animal on your body
Yeah.
to keep you warm. That's pleasant after a while. Any other thoughts?
think we've just tried to find everything in and around this shack to burn. But I'm sure the supply is dwindling rapidly now.
Everyone is going to have to take a condition cold to the bone. But you
So
are making your way up. Yeah.
A quick question about conditions, because at least on the keeper, this is the last spot I have for a condition.
Oh, there's no maximum. You can have
okay,
as many
just
as.
making sure.
Yeah. You are making your way up. You eventually arrive in the first set of our incursion, the Teetering Graveyard. Nestled in the mountain cleft, the Teetering Graveyard is an ancient site where many mounds of bones, human and otherwise, have been piled up. Tekla, you'll know that this place, scholars speculate, this place was a sort of a place of offering to long since forgotten gods. Now, there was a group ahead of you. Hopefully they didn't find Ardkin and leave with it. But out of character, your set goal is to set sail on the bone ship. So you are here. There are these massive piles of bones. It almost looks like it does looks like a graveyard. They look like it's a graveyard in the sense of there's lots of bones, but it's a graveyard in the sense of each pile looks almost like a Titanic grave marker, right? There's probably about a dozen of these bone piles. There's one that is very, very large, and from which, on the other side, you hear moaning. Oh. You might think perhaps it's the wind at first, but it's not. It's clearly a voice in pain. What do you all do?
Cassian will say, there's someone there. We either help them and they may help us, or I'm getting awfully hungry.
Malkuth side eyes him when he says that. Yeah, well, let's try to help him first.
Perhaps it was the people that were in the shack before us. We should find out. Well,
Yeah.
we should obviously try to help them, but find out what they know as well.
Yes, we should definitely do that.
Indeed. So, Cassian, are you going to go investigate?
Yeah, he'll draw his cloak tight and ready his staff and give the bone pile a wide berth, but try and see.
Malkuth will go just to make sure he doesn't eat him.
A chair.
On the other side of the pile, as you circumnavigate it, the moaning is actually a woman. She is leaning up against the bone pile. Both of her feet are missing, and indeed, there are frozen bloody stumps where her feet should be. She has a crossbow in one hand, which she, brandishes at you because she doesn't know who you are. And you see across the way the remains of a body. Blood, guts spilling out over the white snow and bone slurry.
Does it look like that body was killed with a crossbow?
Unclear.
Doesn't sound like
You
it.
can make a hunt roll and go look.
Perhaps presently, but I'll first try and reassure her that no, we don't mean you any harm. We're here to help. We heard you crying out.
She says, be on your guard. There are creatures. Oh, creatures that, and she looks down at her stumps. They go for the ankle.
What are you doing out here?
My love and I, well, if you are here, like us, you must be seeking Ardkin.
Perhaps. So then that's what you're doing out here then. You're trying to find the ship.
My exploration has been somewhat delayed.
We're seeking a way out of this place, whether that be by Ardkin or any other means.
She says, well, I have not had any luck finding Ardkin yet, but we didn't have much time. The creatures attacked us shortly after we arrived here in the bone graveyard.
How long have you been here like this?
She says, not long. Moments, minutes, no more than an hour. It's hard to tell. I lost a lot of blood.
Cassian's going to check around the snow, see for signs of what this creature might be.
Make a hunt roll.
Beast's skill helping.
Sure.
A 5.
She's not lying about that. You see tracks in the snow and in the bone in the area. She says, I managed to hold them off. They took my partner's extremities as their prize and left.
What kind of creatures are they?
They are ape-like, white fur that makes them difficult to see. They keep low to the ground, either because of that, preference, or because they like to take your feet out from underneath you. Literally.
Do you know how far we are from Ambrit?
That is a word I have not heard in a very long time. A very, very long time. Friend, I don't think you're going to get back to Ambrit anytime soon.
Where are we?
And she says, I think we should find Ardkin and be rid of this place. That is preferable to this never-ending line of inquiry.
Well, that's what we
In the
want as well. We're
lair
just
of quite detestable creatures. Now, I am a crack shot. I'm not so great for running and climbing anymore, but point me in the right direction, and I will put a crossbow bolt through its eyes. My name is Editha.
Cassian will introduce himself and bend over to help her onto his back.
Indeed. She says, oh, good. I've always wanted to be a backpack.
Hold on to the staff when you aren't shooting.
And that's going on. Magda, what are you doing right now?
I'm sort of shivering and looking around at the gravestones to see if there's any names that I recognize.
There's no
from any
gravestones. It's
songs.
just piles of bone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping I'd be able to recognize some.
It's not even clear where the
names.
bone came from. It's almost like, it almost looks like the bones were like dropped here, deposited over centuries. They've just piled up.
I guess I'm moving the bones with my foot, trying to spot anything underneath that might be of value.
Indeed. Make a hunt roll.
Just casual grave desecration. I don't think I have anything to add for skills.
You can roll one die.
3.
A 3. We'll come back to that in a moment. Malkuth, what are you doing?
I think he's gonna look over the body to see, just to see if there's any kind of. I know that she mentioned some of the qualities of this creature, but see if there's any other thing that might either be on him or might point to a direction where the creatures might have headed, with blood splatter or what have you.
Make a hunt roll.
Did that go through?
I see Magda's 3. I don't see yours.
Huh.
I see a 4 for Malkuth.
Oh. Okay. I'll take a 4. Is that what? Do you see that?
I see
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was asking.
Maybe just try it again.
I see the 4 as well. But it did halfway work.
How intriguing. Oh, there it is.
I
Yep,
see
it
another
now.
4.
Yeah, I see it now.
Another 4.
I guess it's 4. Take your token. Malkuth, the arms and lower half of the legs have been torn off by the creature, and there's blood in the bone and snow. There's also buried pretty deep within this man's chest a crossbow bolt as well, and you see the feathers of the bolt sticking out.
He'll pluck it out, and I imagine I think he's doing it out of Kazian's sight and out of Editha's sight, but he'll hold it up and show it to Tekla.
She raises her eyebrows, and whispers to Malkuth. She's lying to us.
I don't know. Something's going on, but we can't let our guard down around anybody here.
Perhaps we shouldn't take her with us.
Perhaps, but maybe it was self-defense. Maybe the creatures did something to him and transformed, and we don't know yet. We can't just let her freeze out here right now. Not until we know more.
Well, I'm certainly not standing behind Cassian if that woman is on his back with a loaded crossbow.
Well, if worse comes to worse, she'll attack Cassian first, and well, he'll eat her.
The woman, Editha, says to you, Cassian, she says, believe it or not, being up in the cleft of frozen mountain among piles of bones and strangers with my feet severed from the ankle is not the worst situation I've ever been in.
I don't know if that's supposed to bring me comfort, but...
Oh, my story is a comforting one, Cassian. Very comforting. I was actually dead for a time. Lost in the land of shadow, the lands beyond the black gate of death. And my lover traveled there to save me from it. And we escaped. And here we are, trying to find our way back. Though I guess it's just me now. And all of you.
Yes. And let's say quite the story. I encountered a man looking for his love in the Shadowlands.
Did you?
From Amberette. Or in Amberette.
The coincidences are stacking up, Cassian. You can take a look at the husband or the lover. It's that guy.
Yeah.
It's that guy that scaled the tower and piloted the astrolabe.
He'll kind of stand staring down at the body for a moment and say, well, I'm sorry that the two of you didn't find a better end.
This was supposed to be our escape. We traveled across that blasted barren land for what felt like weeks and weeks. And we found this place. We have to get out of here. His death has to mean something. He's sacrificed so much for me.
We will. Or we'll try. And he'll hold up his wooden hand and say, and I know of someone who can help with your feet as well.
I look forward to being part mannequin someday. I will tell you that this space, it's cold, but there's no wind. There's no odor of decay either. It's as if even the ghost of a scent has been bleached from all these bones. And as you walk about, there's a almost cheery crunching noise as the bones crumble beneath your boots. It's like walking on. It's the same pleasurable sensation of popping bubble wrap, right? Similar idea. There's one tall pile of bones that shifts a little, as if it is not as structurally sound as the others. And as the bones run off the sides, tumble down the sides, it sounds a little bit like a rain stick, you know, that clattering sound. Magda, you're looking underneath the bone pile, trying to find something other than bones. When you feel something warm dripping on the back of your neck.
For a moment, I kind of sigh. It's just so nice to have something warm happening for once. It's been so cold for so many days now, and I you know, pull my hand out of my cloak where I have them kind of buried against my chest to keep them warm, and reach back to touch it and bring it back in front of me to see what it is.
Perched atop this bone pile, about 10, 12 feet up, is an ape-like creature with leathery hide and very like soft, downy white fur, rows of sharp teeth, spindly fingers. And it has in its mouth a fresh, bloody bone, probably from her partner. And it's just sucking the marrow out of it. And it spits it out and lets it tumble down. It was a little bit of that bile and bone juice that dripped onto you. And the thing is now crawling down very ably down the pile toward you, Magda. What do you do?
I yell out to my companions, "There's a monster coming to down the thing!" And sadly take my poor cold hands again out of my cloak to pull my sword.
Indeed, it leaps. It is an endurance 7, and if everyone teams up on it, well, what's everyone doing? Like, are you all going to like respond to this, or?
Yeah, I think once Malkuth hears Magda cry out, he'll rush over to her.
Cassian will turn and try and provide a steady platform for Editha.
Editha, yeah. Tekla, what about you?
I don't think Tekla's much of a fighter, but she'll try and defend herself as best she can.
I think Magda, you go one round with the creature, and as long as it doesn't kill you, then once everybody else arrives, you will all be able to take it out without any further die rolls. Just give me a weak point,
My weak point is 4.
and go ahead and roll a combat 1.
I got 4.
Oh, there we are. So it is going to hit you, regrettably. But so give me the first round of combat before your friends arrive.
I think I pull out my sword, and as I pull it out, my fingers touch the steel for just a moment, and I'm so cold, and the steel, even though it's been sitting against my body, it's still cold. And I think because I had just touched something wet, my fingers stick to it, like if you were to stick your tongue to a steel pole in the winter, and I can't get a good grasp on it. I don't have the ability to swing it properly as this creature jumps at me and takes a large chomp into, I think, my shoulder with its jaggedy teeth.
You manage to slough it off, and it goes reeling back. When everyone else arrives coming around the corner, I think that gets its attention long enough to stop its next charge. And while it's stopped, you hear the thrum of Editha's crossbow, and the crossbow bolt just blooms in the creature's skull, and it falls down dead. Editha says, well, good to know I'm pulling my weight, she says, hanging on to you, Cassian.
I think I'm brushing the bile and blood that this creature had bit into my shoulder. My plate protected me, but it's still very gross. So I'm just trying to brush it off so it's not on me anymore.
It is it is going to be a gold 7 if somebody wants to roll that.
I'll give it a go. One gold.
Great. So if somebody wants to define what's salvageable from this creature, and then you can decide who's going to keep it. It's worth 1 gold.
I think the teeth, maybe.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Who's keeping the teeth? And you're going to need to name this thing as well.
I think the teeth
Yeah.
had actually got stuck in my in my shoulder. So I'm just sort of pulling them out and putting them in my pocket.
What are we going to name this thing, Bestiary Keeper?
Oh God. Brain freeze. You know, it's far too cold to really think on the spot like this.
Well, you have to come up with a name at some point.
Yeah.
Editha says we need to find Ardkin. If it's here, we need to find it, and we need to be gone from this place.
Yes. How do we find it?
Well, it's a bone ship, and there are an awful lot of bones.
But surely a ship should stand out somewhat even among this. And I think Tekla will start just looking around this boneyard, trying to spot anything that looks like the
Unusual,
structure of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Make a hunt roll.
Does myths help me here? Have I heard of this?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why
Said
you
I'd
know
heard
about
of Ardkin.
yeah, the only reason why you know it all is Ardkin. I will tell you that yes, it will help for a very particular reason, which I'll tell you after your roll.
So I get 2 light.
Yes.
Is that? Yeah. 2 twos.
2 twos. I'll tell you anyway. The ship is known to have wings. And so that is something maybe to look out for. If you see something that looks like a wing sticking out somewhere, that could be where Ardkin is. So you have a lead based off the myth. Regrettably, there are more of these heretofore unnamed ankle biting creatures.
I came up with a name.
What is the name?
The Bone Gnasher.
Bone Gnashers. That's a good name. There is a whole platoon of Bone Gnashers that have now moved into the area. Their combined endurance is 9. There's about 6 of them in total, and they just sort of rise up out of the snow and bone like Vietnam, like Apocalypse Now. They just crawl up and they stay low, and they're just fanning out around you all. Editha says, I shall load my crossbow again. And she's loading her crossbow and getting ready for the fight. Everyone say how you are vulnerable and roll endurance.
Vulnerable because we're surrounded and shivering and carrying a wounded person. Weak point is 1.
That's not too bad.
Magda's
points
vulnerable
go.
because she's pretty sure these things just saw her take the teeth of one of their friends and stick them in her pocket.
Their blood's up. They want revenge. What's your
My
weak
weak
point?
point's 4.
4. Okay.
Cassian, weak point of 1. He's weak because he is just carrying Editha. He can't defend himself.
Yeah. Indeed, I think there's even a special rule here. Let me look. There might be a special rule with like if you're the one dealing with Editha. Yeah, she's skilled in accuracy, trajectories, and reflexes. She counts. So if you need such skills, she can help with that. Whoever is dealing with her in combat, whoever has to like cover her or carry her around, you have to roll an extra weak point.
That's a 3.
Mm-hmm. And so, what are your 2 weak points then? 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Okay, so we have a 1, a 4. Malkuth has a 5. It looks like, and then a 1 and a 3. So 1, 3, 4, and 5. Sounds great. Okay, it's a. Let's see here. She does count as a combat die though, which is nice. So you have 6 or 1, 2, 3, 4, no 5. You have 5 combat to start. So you only have to get endurance 9. So it should be a pretty easy fight. Roll it up. Cassian, since you're bearing a lot of burden here, go ahead.
That's a 10.
10. 2 5s, regrettably.
And a 1.
And a 1. And a 3. Cassian, I assume you're going to mark... well, maybe you aren't. Well, yeah, because you have a 1 and a 3. So are you going to mark armor?
I am. Yep.
Yeah. And the 2 5s, Malkuth, you mark an armor?
Yes.
Magda, a 4, you mark an armor?
Yeah.
Tekla, you got a hit as well. Are you marking
I
armor?
don't have any armor.
Oh, that is not
In
great.
retrospect, I'm now thinking it was a mistake. But
Possibly, yes. Everyone's getting hit or soaking up armor hits, but you are going to win the fight. Let's just kick it off. Cassian, what does it look like?
I think as one of the creatures lunges, Cassian just kind of like how he did with the ghoul, he thrusts his arm forward into the creature's mouth, but this time it catches on his mirrored snakeskin armor.
Keep it going, Magda.
Because my hand is still stuck to my sword in a really awkward way, I just charge towards the closest of these bone gnashers with my helmet and headbutt it, and I managed to catch it in just a way that really ends up hurting it quite a bit.
Malkuth.
There's one bone gnasher standing in front of him, and as it kind of sort of taunts and sneers at him. Malchus feels himself get ripped out from underneath as another one rips him by the ankles and throws him to the ground. Malchus is quick enough, though. He takes his boots and sort of twists the neck of one of it as he flips on top onto his back. But when he does, another bone gnasher drops down. He puts his arm up instinctively, and it bites into his gauntlet, kind of grinding its teeth on the metal studs. But Malkuth rips his hand away from it and takes his warhammer and uses the handle to kind of fight back against the thing before taking the warhammer and pushing the neck back, kind of snapping it.
Tekla, finish the fight.
I think Tekla, the last of these creatures lunges at Tekla, and she just about manages to get her staff kind of propped up, and it lands on the end of it, and it simultaneously crushes her back into the ground, and she kind of tips it sideways so it falls away from her, and then a crossbow bolt just impales it as it falls. But yeah, Tekla's kind of crushed into some ice and snow and injured.
Nice. Magda, you can roll a gold 9.
Two gold.
2 gold. You can define more body parts of these creatures if you wish, or just take more teeth.
I like the teeth. Yeah. Does anybody else want some teeth?
I'll take a tooth.
I'll take a tooth.
Very good.
How many did we have?
Well, it's just 2 gold's worth of bone gnasher teeth. So whoever's taking them, note it.
Actually, I'll say, Kazian, if you want one, just because you gave me that healing potion, which I'm going to take now.
All right. Thank you.
Healing potion clears 1 ruin. Who's taking the other bone gnasher teeth?
I'll take a bone gnasher tooth.
Very good. At this point, the one bone pile that was like kind of coming where the bones were clattering down, it's because it's irregularly shaped. And as the bones continue to roll down, there is a large wing-shaped bone, or like a bone that's wing, sticking out of the pile. Tekla, that's probably where Ardkin is.
I think we found it. Malkuth, Cassian, can you help me clear some of these bones away and see if we can?
Yeah. And Malkuth will start to kind of dig out using his hammer.
Cassian will set Editha on the ground gently and go and help.
As we're there, though, as Kazian is with Malkuth, Malkuth will look to Kazian and say, "Hey, just so you know, there was one of her crossbow bolts in that man's chest. Yeah, something to be mindful of."
Perhaps she put him out of his misery.
Perhaps. Just, again, wanted to give you the heads up.
Yes. Well, I'll go back to digging.
As you dig through the pile, you dig through and it's just the wing, a single wing. It appears to have maybe snapped off at some point. The rest of the ship is somewhere else.
You've got to be kidding me.
I'm not carrying that.
Somebody
Is it
has to.
enough that I could carry it?
It cannot be carried. It's too big. You can get it down to the ground, and that's about it.
Well, the rest of it has to be here, right?
It's got to be around, unless one of those monsters carried the wings off, which I can't imagine.
They're strong, but I don't think they're that strong. Let's just keep digging.
Let me have another hunt roll as you continue digging around piles of bones.
It's a 6.
A 6 from Malkuth.
Yes.
Great, love it. You find it. You know you find it because as soon as you disturb one of the piles, the bones fall away really quickly and leaving the structure underneath visible. The ship is essentially, well, it's ship-shaped, but it's not like solid. It looks like a giant rib cage. And the bones, like it's a giant rib cage, and then on top of the rib cage, there is something like a ship's deck, which is essentially just like mandalas of bone fit together. And all of it is covered in scrimshaw carvings depicting stories and other things. And there is one wing still attached, and then you have this other wing.
Oh, we just gotta reattach its wing.
Oh,
Should
make
be
it
easy
sound
enough.
so easy, Magda.
Yeah. We just get together, we pull it across the snow and the bones, and
I've
then
got
what?
some wax. We could stick it in the wax and sort of attach that way.
I don't know if
A
this is a
rope.
very large. The rope might be better.
Mm.
I
I
can
would think surely some kind of ritual is required here, but
Are the wings necessary? Does it flap?
I
well, I don't wish to slide down the mountain like some giant toboggan.
I'm saying perhaps they're decorative.
Perhaps.
I imagine they're not, because otherwise this thing might have blown away already.
Well, it's a
Well,
ship, Magda. It needs a pilot and a helmsman and those kinds of things.
yeah, but I see what I think I see what you're saying, Magda. I mean, if this thing goes to the void, we don't know what the void is like. Maybe it does need to be able to fly through it. I've got a chain. We can try and fix it that way. Maybe this is going to be gross, but maybe we can use some of the bone gnasher organs, maybe mound it up, hope it freezes enough to make like an adhesive or something.
I think this is a very interesting plan. As long as you give me 3 uses of equipment and come up with a plan, I'll let you repair Ardgen.
Yeah, I'll use my chain at least for that.
And my rope.
I have chain, I have rope, what else?
I can define something if Magda has nothing.
I have wine, the signet ring and wax, a whistle, and torches.
Does
Okay,
not sound
I will-
helpful.
I'll use an empty backpack slot to
Pull out what?
use some rope.
All right, so just more lengths of rope.
Mm.
Fastening the wing to Ardkin is doable. Whoever's not working on it, Aditha will have to be one of those people, can stand watch in case more bone gnashers come. The work goes fine. You're able to reattach the wing, and you know it's working because as soon as the wing is reattached, the whole thing sort of like shifts of its own accord, and the big bone wings spread out and up, and it's quite a dramatic sight. Editha from down below says, well, I guess we have to get on the deck then.
I hope it's warmer than in there than it is out here. And Melkus will look around, but then does it look like there's a immediate opening, or is it sort of
So The hull of the ship, there is no real interior. It's just like a rib cage and a top deck essentially,
Oh,
and then the
okay. Never
wings.
mind. Got it. Okay.
But there is a ladder, so you can climb up to it.
Okay. Well, I retract that statement about it being warmer because obviously it won't be.
It will not be warmer, no,
Okay.
but it will be an escape, hopefully.
Yes. So yeah, he'll pull out the ladder, but he'll let others go up first.
Very good. If everybody gets up to the deck, Editha says, "Well, now what?"
You don't know how to fly this thing?
Is
I
there a steering wheel?
I just sort of thought it would be more self-evident what we were supposed to do here.
Tekla, you're smart.
Thank you, Malkuth.
Tekla, do a hunt roll. See if you know.
Does myths help me?
Yeah, 2 dice.
Do
Go
I-
ahead.
Six light.
Hey, good. Take a token, and I'll give you the answer fully. Ardkin is powered by all of its passengers, or each of its passengers, speaking aloud. A truth. You have to speak an unsavory truth about yourself in order to give the ship power. Who wants to speak aloud first?
I think Tekla should, since she is the one who is proposing this idea that she's dredged up from some myth that she read somewhere. Just trying to think what my truth is. I did betray Eotho, and I would do it again.
Upon Tekla speaking aloud this truth, Ben, the ribcage begins to be filled with colorful smoke. What color is the smoke? And what does it smell like?
I think it's a burgundy, and it smells like expensive wine.
Who else wants to speak their truth?
I can speak my truth. The sea witch at Drannon's Reef, where Tannen and I were, she told me that if I were to sacrifice him to the reef, then I would be able to get my statue. And so I did. And I think that's why he is the way he is. He was nice before.
Jack,
The
what
song
color
was
is
a
the
lie.
smoke? Jack, what color is the smoke and what does it smell like?
I think it's an emerald green, and it smells like brine.
So now we have this green and burgundy smoke filling the cage, and these strange odors wafting up. Who's ready to speak?
Cassian will look at Tekla and say, if the others hadn't gone, I had no intention of saving you. Also, sometimes I wonder if what I saw in the palace was not just an illusion, and I threw away my life for a mistake.
Amanda, what color is the smoke and what does it smell like?
I think it is golden, and it has the smell of metal heating up.
Malkuth, hearing all of this, he approaches the console and looking down at it, he takes a deep breath and he says, I know that I'm not going to be able to save her. I know that I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do to save my sister. But as long as I keep doing this, as long as I keep hunting, sometimes the illusion makes me feel better, makes me feel like I've got purpose.
Rob, what color is the smoke and what does it smell like?
The smoke is it's like a purpley grey and smells of the earth deep underground.
Editha says, I put a crossbow bolt through the chest of my love to save myself. From the creatures. And the smoke is yellow and smells of rot. There doesn't seem to be anything happening, though. There's just smoke and a rib cage and a pair of wings. Out of your sight, where none of you can see, Tannen crawls and up to the bottom of the ship and grabs hold of the bone ladder and hoists himself up. And he says, I am a surgeon priest of Barsoul Prison, and I will extract penance from all of them. But then you all notice a black smoke joins the smokes. And it is a smoke that smells of something sweet but poisonous. And the mountain falls away. The ship does not seem to move. The world moves around it. The mountain rapidly falls away. The sky falls away. Wherever you were, it's becoming just a nothing. It's a pinprick in the void. And Ardkin floats in the silvery vastness. That'll conclude our session for today. Let's do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away. Set goal met, by the way.
I want to give a star to Jason for the character of Tannen. He was very creepy, and I had a lot of fun interacting with him. That was a because I kind of missed the very end of the session last time, so that was an interesting session to an interesting situation to find myself in at the beginning. And yeah, that was I think it was a really fun opportunity to establish how Tekla fits into this group that she's fairly new to. So that it kind of bridged that gap really well in setting up this dynamic with her and Magda and her and Cassian in particular.
I'll state a wish right now. the group has to reckon with the fact that you're all here because of Tekla, right? Like, none of this would be going on if it was not for Tekla. Sorry, Rob, keep going.
No, yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I love the creature, the translucent crystal shrimp thing. And gosh, I'm trying to think of individual moments from different characters. I really enjoyed kind of I liked Cassian's truth that he told there. That sets things up really interestingly, and I definitely want to explore what that means and where that goes. And yeah, Malkuth's one that relates to his drive was also, yeah. I'd love to see what the implications of that doubt in himself are once he does Hearthfire next, perhaps. Yeah, so those are kind of some general wishes for the future.
Yeah, this was a fun session. A lot happened, and none of it I expected, which is great. I really liked, Jason, how you tied in the end of last session to set up the beginning of this one, with Yotha talking about her screaming, and then the whole kind of dynamic of her messing with Tenon, and this kind of like theatrical performance that she was giving, letting out these screams and whatnot. I thought that was really, really fun, really clever. And he's like, I love that kind of creepy, sort of almost, I guess, lawful evil sort of villain. And I'm excited to see what he tries to get up to on the ship, and where we end up next with him. Star to Amanda. I loved Magda just sort of going gangbusters up the ramp, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of play with that. And uh, I love the growth that you had with sending Bazo out without yourself, and having Malkuth and Cassian go on him. I thought that was a really nice sort of moment of like of reflection. It was really nice to see. Tekla, yeah, to Jason's wish about, coming to, all that coming to a head with the fact that she's the reason that we're here. Um, I'm really excited to explore that, and I'm excited to see this kind of more conniving side come out of her, especially after she, so openly told us that, hey, I did this, I betrayed him, and I'll do it again, um, which I love. And then Cassian, my homie, thanks for coming to help with the crystal crawler. Um, but yeah, I really liked all the truths, and I like wanting to see how we deal with those in future sessions, and seeing if those truths kind of come true, if they're you know if they're what our future holds, or what we do to sort of like work around them, or try to escape them, or what have you. But rambling at this point, but I just had a good time, and I'm excited for the next one.
Yeah, I also really liked. I had a great time this session. I felt it was very adventure-y. I really liked Iotho at the beginning, going all Jabba the Hutt, like ho ho ho, I'm going to trick you all into doing what I want you to do, and now go fight this Rancor. Like it was really fun. I loved Cassian staying behind at first. That huge star for that. That was so perfect for a character moment, and I made me very happy. I loved Tekla. Stars for Rob for laying it on thick with but I'm a sweet innocent little girl. You'd never hurt me. Like even after the spell took hold, just like reinforcing it, reinforcing it. It was so funny. It was a really great character moments. I loved Tannen. I really loved how everybody really leaned into the adventure part. Like, um, all of the uh, swinging in to fight the crystal creature, and running down the ramps and falling through the um trapdoors. It felt like an adventure. It felt like an adventure movie. I really liked the pool in this weird void domain leading to where it did. I thought that was a really cool moment because I know I kind of pulled the fell tree fruit out of nowhere. I really loved all of the truths everybody spoke on the bone ship. A lot. Stars for everybody. Those were really interesting, really cool, and I think they all have an effect on the story. So it's not just random truths that people were picking. I know that everybody really sat and thought about it. So I really loved that. And the smokes and the smells. And yeah, this is an all around just a really fun game.
Yeah, a star for the truths, and specifically that moment at the end of our truths where nothing happened, and then Jason, you revealed Tannen having to tell his. That was such a good, just a really great moment. I love seeing Iotho every time, but I love that Iotho just has this glass barrier ready to drop in the middle of a dinner party to keep the riffraff away. And also the implication that Iotho has this portal to another place just built into the foundation of his palace. I want to see more of Iotho's palace. Like that's some nightmarish funhouse. Magda's plan in the hallway, like being that badass that people sing songs about, was such a great moment. And yeah, that little, she's not going to let another friend die alone. That was good. Also, pulling up the fell tree fruit. We've had that for a long time, and it was such a good payoff. Jack, when Malkuth was in the underground area and describing the way that the glow of the lichen was also visible in your tattoos, and I just loved the Leviathan. Having it be a giant mole monster was just perfect. Rob, Tekla's attempt to manipulate Tannen and the way that that all played out to pay off at the end there with the truth was so good, as has been stated. And I also love that little meta moment when you realized maybe armor would have been a good plan. Yeah, this was a great session. Lots of action, lots of fun. Really looking forward to seeing where we go from here.
Yeah, Stars, really fun. I knew what was coming, and so I knew what kind of session it was going to be. But it was kind of fun to see how the pieces all fit together. Like, I knew you were going to be fighting that crystal creature, but I didn't know. And I had an idea how I thought you were going to encounter it, but I had to adapt to the trapdoor situation, right? So that like presented like a different opportunity. So just that sort of like staying like, having like an idea and then having to adapt the idea is something I love to do as a GM. And so I got to do a lot of that today, and it was really fun. I love the adventure, love the action. Sometimes you just want like a good, like high action kind of like, thing. This is the first time we've done it probably since Peerless Star, to be honest. This sort of like real high adventure kind of feel. Always an Emberette, right? And so it was good fun. Loved I loved Tekla this session. I felt like this was the first session where we really got to like understand Tekla beyond what we learned in the Trophy Dark series, right? Like this is the first like time with Tekla, with this group, that Tekla's place in the party, her place in the story, and just her as a character like really kind of cemented and became like a real part of it. And so I was really happy about that. The irony being on the adventure, you're all trying to get Bana back, right? So
And the
really
irony
love
being
that.
she's on 5 ruin now, so she's probably going to.
Yeah, I know. Like you better get Bana back. So there's like, but if she goes out on this note, it's a good one, right? Like I like where Tekla's at as a character right now. Really loving the just everyone kind of just leaning into the action. The mole thing was great. Magda was really fun to watch this session. Cassian, your truth was really good on the Ardkin. Everybody's was good, but yours was like really standout. And I also like how you sort of like were the one who sort of like took control of Editha and got her, or Ikini, or whatever her name is, and got her like kind of situated. That felt like something Cassian would do, and so really it was felt right. yeah, just really, really great all around. Wishes, I've already said one of them about Tekla and the group having to reconcile this situation with her. But also, I have one wish. It's not so much a wish as more of a curiosity. I'm really curious what would have happened if you had all followed the mole um, down its hole, you know, because like that mole hole was theoretically still there. Where did it come from? Where did it go? You know, so that was intriguing. It's the kind of thing I wonder. We'll never know, but it's fun to wonder about. Um, yeah, and this incursion that's coming up is a lot of fun. It's a really good one, and it's a good one in the sense that it's a kind of thing I like to do. Like it's a style of adventure that I don't do all the time, but when I do get to do it, it's very enjoyable. So looking forward to it. Yeah, that's all I got. Any other stars and wishes? Okay, well then we'll go ahead and wave goodbye to people watching the video.